21st meeting of the Montpelier Design Review Committee. I'll let staff and members introduce themselves.
Benjamin Jean, member.
Meredith Crandall, staff.
Stephen Everett, member.
Liz Pritchett, member.
Rebecca Owens, member.
So the four of us tonight. Okay. At this point, we'll let Meredith review the remote meeting procedures and process.
Okay, so I am going to share my screen, Alexi, because you haven't seen this before. The stuff on the screen is really more for people who are watching via ORCA Media, but there'll be some stuff in my little spiel for everybody who's on remotely to remember. Okay, so for anyone viewing tonight's Design Review Committee meeting via ORCA Media, you can participate in the discussion via the Zoom platform through either video or telephone access options. If you want the full video experience, then you're going to want to type this link into your web browser. I will get a notification that you want to get into the meeting and let you in. Alternatively, you can dial this phone number and plug in this meeting ID when prompted. And again, I'll get a notification that you want to get into the meeting. If anyone is trying to get into the meeting and having problems, please email me at mcrandall@montpelier-vt.org. For everyone attending via Zoom, please note that turning your video on is optional. And actually, if you're having issues with delays or sound, then actually turning off your video is your best option to clean that up. We're also going to ask that if anyone, sorry, wrong spiel. We're going to ask that everyone please keep your microphone on mute when you're not speaking. This will reduce background noise. And note that the Zoom chat function should be used for troubleshooting or logistics questions only. Questions, comments, or answers to questions about actual project on the agenda needs to be done verbally. In the event the public is unable to access this meeting, it will need to be continued to a time and place certain. I'll now hand the meeting back over to the chair.
At this point, we need to approve the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
I hear a second.
That, Liz.
All in favor of the agenda, speak your names. Stephen?
Rebecca.
I'm assuming Liz said yes. Okay, unless anybody has anything to add at this point, we can go to the first application for 72 Berry Street. Jane and Stephen Rebellini for a new garage. Come up and explain your application.
If you can just make sure to speak into the microphone as best you can. That way people remotely can hear us and the recording for the minute taker. That would be great. They have your plans and I can share them up on the screen if you want.
Jane, you want to start or you want me to?
Oh, well, we're the owners of 72 Berry Street. It's a 1890 home on the corner of Hubbard Street and Berry Street. And we've been living there now for several years, during which time we're trying to restore the home. And we finally got around to facing another winter soon and realized I was going to be scraping the cars out again every day. Maybe we should have a garage. So I had been looking for a long time and finally struck up upon plans for sale that actually had some Victorian elements to them, which is highly unusual. We thought would look lovely next to the house that we're living. The cupola, the weather vane, the gingerbread under the peak of one of the classic multi-peak roof. All of these are Victorian elements together with the wind style of the windows and so forth. So we have submitted our plans for a 24 by 24 foot, actually fairly small 2-car garage, 1 story. We hope you agree that this will be complementary to the neighborhood and to the styles around us.
This
Um,
is the only rendering that we have of it. Is that true? Like we have drawings.
You have the whole complete package somewhere.
I have all the
Yeah. But that's
framing
the
drawings,
actual-
but as far as a rendering that's.
Right.
I think we only have one.
Yeah.
Yep, so what I'm gonna do is I can pull up at least like a Google Street View of the house. So
And
you
I'm
have
just-
that to look at too.
And the way that it's oriented as I'm looking in the drawings is that the doors face the house and then I assume in this. What they're calling the rear elevation, maybe the side is what is along the sidewalk.
Yes.
Yes. It's a heavily trafficked
Yeah.
area because people like to park on Hubbard Street at no cost and walk into town.
Sure.
So I have pulled up on the screen,
Right.
just the Hubbard Street view of the house.
Yeah.
And so, yep, the garage will go here
Right
with the doors to the garage where the cars will come in facing. Berry
Turn
Street.
right.
Turn right.
You know, into the garage then.
Yep, so you pull in and then hang a right to go into the garage.
And the-
So yep, the
Will say
side.
where it is currently.
Right. And the way that it's drawn on this plan looks like it's closer to the sidewalk than maybe you intend to put it. Like, I'm assuming you're going to keep those trees.
Well, actually, those trees, we had just had a guy
Tree
over at
Works.
Tree Works was over a week or two ago. And both those trees are badly damaged and he
Mhm.
recommends
And diseased, he
and
said.
diseased and
We hired him to do the other crabapple tree in the corner of this thing. He
and
was
there's a
gonna
bigger
try
crabapple tree.
and save that one.
And a great northern catalpa tree up front or something it's called, but you gotta do something to, yeah, that bigger tree
I
there.
guess great northern catalpa trees, which I had never heard of until this, are becoming rarer and rarer. And we were advised to sacrifice a couple of very small maple trees in the corner, perhaps, to
To
save the
save it.
catalpa. So Tree Works' plan was to take down two kind of baby maple trees that are growing into the catalpa. And then we'll have a better view of how much the catalpa is still there.
Mhm.
It's the tree that has the very long green beans hanging, from.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very unusual.
Yeah.
Huge leaves.
So he recommended that, well, the first tree, the top's pretty well broken off from the last snowstorm we had in April.
Mhm.
You know, a big
Yep.
piece of it broke off, but it really didn't even do it this summer.
So you're intending to take
Take
those,
that down anyhow.
And
whether
then
we're
the-
building the garage or not.
right? And then the garage will be roughly, like in this plan, it looks like it's pretty close to
Yeah,
the
I
sidewalk.
think the
I think
setback
it's
is
5 foot.
5 foot setback, so.
Yep.
It may be 6, you know, or something, yeah.
You intend to max that out
Yeah,
and get as
yeah,
close.
to
Yeah.
Give us a bigger backyard.
Yeah, because this isn't, this is all going back to grass back in
Right.
here.
And then
a
the
lot of it.
garage also acts a little bit as a privacy screen for the backyard.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Just give yourself enough room to move snow back there if it starts piling up.
And also a buffer between the garage and the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Maybe some flowering shrubs or small tree like a Japanese maple or something.
Just remember that with the sidewalk plow, it'll push snow into that gap. So actually perennial beds or something in that space might be better than a shrub. A shrub might get buried. If you put something there, it's going to need to be resistant to snow.
Steve's a very experienced snowplow.
Or dealing with snow
I'm
anyway.
sure I can rely
We've-
on his advice.
We've planted yews for shrubs and they seem to withstand the snow better
Oh,
than
pretty well,
anything.
yeah.
I've had icicles come down, beat them to death and a month into the spring, they look like they've never were touched.
I think this house is one of the more like iconic, beautiful houses in Montpelier, and I'm really thankful that the two of you are the ones that own it. And I want to just check in about the siding details on the garage and how they relate to the house and what your thoughts are on that. Those beautiful curved clapboards are like really incredible, and whether there's a way to, match that sort of reveal and size of the clapboards on this garage.
To have a curved.
Well, no, just the reveal. Like-
Yeah, it would be about the same. I believe.
Yeah.
And then it's also got the scallops.
Mm-hmm.
like on the house.
And does the house have a shingled detail up high also?
Yes.
Yeah,
It does. Yeah,
it does.
that's
I can
great.
Pull that in.
I thought it did, but I just,
It's the green.
Right. Yeah.
You won't be able to see it. Well,
Yeah,
you can actually. The light shows.
I know the collaborative detail down low, but to have the
Yeah.
shingles up high
Yeah,
to
yeah.
match that is nice.
So on
Right.
that side is the shingles, then on the back side and the front side is plywood.
And they're not like a narrow reveal, but they're
Right.
not a big
They're
reveal.
not a big, yeah, I
Yeah.
did it 3 inch.
Yeah.
Border.
And if we could match that clapboard reveal on the
That was. the
garage,
plan.
yeah, that would be great.
Doesn't have anything to do with the appearance of the garage, but with the valleys that you have. I highly recommend, just in terms of the materials, either 5/8 plywood for the roof, or the Advantech works great. And the
Yeah.
Advantech is competitively priced, and it can sit out in the weather exposed. I know, because we replaced a lot of floor sheathing
Yeah.
after the flood with Advantech.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a fellow in the valley who put a deck outside and he covered it with Advantech. It's been out in the weather for 2
Yeah.
years and it looks new.
That is a
And
good
then
product.
use the Advantech and then put a water and ice shield on top of it,
Okay.
especially with the valleys.
Yeah.
And you'll
Yeah.
never, ever have a leak.
And we're not planning on heating the garage, so.
Yep.
Yeah,
No,
shouldn't be an icing problem.
no, it's a very nice design.
Yeah, I'm really grateful that you put the thought and effort into doing something that matched that house as well as you've done.
I was just curious if there is a loft or an attic in that. It doesn't really matter, you know.
I don't believe so.
For
There
this-
might be like
There might be a
a
little storage.
mezzanine that
Copy.
you can put stuff
Oh,
up.
I see, I
Yep.
see. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Does anyone else have any other questions? If not, I can read down through. There's a criteria sheet for projects in the design review district. Number 1, exterior design and materials of new construction or alterations of existing buildings shall be consistent and compatible with the characteristics of the existing building or other properties in the district. New construction shall be considered to be compatible if the materials used possess a kind or type that are appropriate in the district. Materials selected shall either fit the neighborhood context of the proposed building and or reflect the nature and use of the structure. Acceptable. Height. Building additions or new buildings shall not overwhelm the primary facade. Must consider varied heights of existing buildings and adjacent buildings. Acceptable. Proportion, compatibility of relationship between width and height of facades, as well as relationships of width to height of windows and doors. Acceptable. Rhythm, visual patterns established by the alterations of solid walls and openings, windows and doors in the facade of buildings shall create a rhythm. Acceptable. Roof shape and equipment. Consider similarity or compatibility with roof shapes in immediate area. Conceal rooftop equipment and features on flat roofs from eye level view from adjacent public rights of way and from the ground level of any adjacent properties. Acceptable. Architectural features, including but not limited to cornices, windows, shutters, fan lights, entablature, trim, and other forms of molding or character-defining detailing prevailing on the existing building shall be considered in the alteration of a building. New construction, architectural features prevailing in the surrounding area shall be regarded as suggestive of the extent, nature, and scale of details that are appropriate for new buildings. Acceptable. Roof drainage systems shall not hide or obscure architectural character-defining features and shall run adjacent to building corners when possible, acceptable. Outdoor lighting fixtures. Structural design of outdoor lighting fixtures shall be compatible with the architectural design and function of the building and compatible with the neighborhood. Do you have any lighting proposed?
I
Yeah.
think they
Either-
show
it's-
3 lights on there.
Yeah, there's some on the plan. They're kind of like little carriage. like-
Yes, on the corners
Yep.
and then one by the door.
Right.
Okay.
Carriage.
Structural design of outdoor lighting fixtures shall be compatible with the architectural design and function of the building and compatible with the neighborhood, acceptable. Landscaping, screening, and site furnishings. Projects within the design review overlay district and subject to the landscaping requirements shall consider the following: site furnishings, including fencing, seating, or other types of site furniture visible from the street or side yards. Does landscaping obscure or undermine key architectural patterns or elements on historic buildings? And mechanical equipment screening, which doesn't apply here. The remainder is acceptable. Criteria for new buildings only. New development shall incorporate sustainable design and construction methods and materials compatible with historic materials and styles, acceptable. Scale and massing of new buildings shall be compatible with surrounding structures. Orientation. New buildings shall be oriented toward and relate both functionally and visually to public streets and or common greens, parks, or plazas. To provide a uniform streetscape, new principal structures shall be located and oriented with their fronts parallel to the street and with the setback distance comparable to adjacent structures, acceptable. Continuity of physical elements, such as yards, fences, evergreen masses, or building facades along a street, acceptable. Context and connectivity. Building design shall be sensitive to the overall character and content of the design review overlay district and to adjacent buildings, acceptable. Accessory buildings and structures. New accessory buildings or structures shall be located within either the side yard or rear yard and shall not visually disrupt the streetscape or affect the integrity of the existing building or proposed new building. Acceptable. All in favor of the application, speak your names. Stephen,
Liz,
Rebecca,
4 in favor. And I need one of your signatures on the sheet, criteria sheet. And you can explain the next step.
So we should be able to get the permits out pretty quickly. It's just, I've got to make sure Michelle's in the office to be able to sign it. I'm not sure what her schedule is tomorrow, but we should be getting these issued tomorrow or the next day. Do you want us to email when they're ready, or do you want us to just put them in the mail?
I don't know what Steve would answer, but I don't see the rush because. we don't have anyone to
So,
fill it yet.
so mail is fine.
Email's fine.
We will just mail it. Awesome.
Good luck with
Okay.
your project.
Thank you.
Looks very nice. You're gonna really like having your garage, car inside the garage.
Have a great night.
We can move forward to the next application for 35 Elm Street. Applicant Alexi High. Regarding a vent in a rear window for a kiln. Is someone online?
Yeah, Alexi's
Yep.
online.
Yeah, I'm here.
Describe your application for us.
I'm going to be putting a kiln in 35 Elm Street and making it into a pottery studio. And so I'll need a way to vent that kiln. And rather than, going through the wall, I'd like to use a panel in the window set kind of like an air conditioner that sits inside the window, has a hole for that vent, and that's how I vent during firings. And so the way I'm kind of thinking of it is that it'll be in the window when I'm firing, and I can kind of take it out and close the window when it gets when I'm done with the firing, so that I don't have to lose heat out that window, or cool, or whatever it is. So the panel itself would probably be made out of, like 1/8" aluminum, and the ducting is similar to, or it's the same, material as dryer ducting. And I don't, you can make them so that they have the little vent door on them. I could do that, but mainly it would just be a way to get the air out of the studio.
Sorry for the delayed share screen. I was trying to answer somebody's email. So yeah, here's your mock-up from the inside. It's kind of hard to do a mock-up on the outside, given that it's over the river. And then there's the window right now.
Right. And I don't, I'm not sure what the concerns that the committee has with aesthetics, or with, the mechanics of the vent, but I'd be happy to hear any suggestions or concerns that you might have.
We only really care what it looks like from the
Outside.
outside if you're in that parking lot across the river. So maybe you'll do a nice job painting it a nice color.
I'll do a mural.
How often do you use the kiln, or do you plan on using it?
Probably the most it'll be used is twice a week. That would be pretty heavy usage. I imagine it'll probably be more like every other week.
Okay.
So is this a recommended way of venting the kiln as far as safety goes? Fire and
It is.
safety? Mhm.
It is. It complies with Scott Kiln Company has a guidance on how to vent kilns, and this is what they recommend. One thing I should mention too is that the kiln, it's not shooting just pure kiln air out of the vent. It's mixing that small amount of air it's pulling from the kiln with air from the room and sending that out. So it's not hot. It's not like 2100 degrees or anything. It's more in line with a drier vent temperature.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think I've been able to pull a view from across the river of the back of that building. I think this is the right one. I think this is the back of that building.
Yep, that's it. Yep.
Yeah.
What is the size of the vent pipe?
I think it's 4 inches. It's 4 or 5 inches, somewhere in there. I can't remember what.
One thing you might be able to do would be to create an insulated panel and then use what's normally used for a wood stove vent, either a double wall or a triple wall, which would, if you need the extra separation, then you could put that into an insulated panel, and then it could stay in there in the winter if you chose. I'm not sure. It looks like the window is a fairly new window. I'm not sure if the window's wood or vinyl. It looks like it might be a vinyl window. But in any case, you could put the insulated panel in with the vent in it and then put foam in the top to seal the space between the sash. And then that could remain in so you don't have to take it in and out.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. Um,
And again, I'm not sure what the specs are on the pipe and the heat, but either a double wall or a triple wall sleeve would make that really easy to deal with.
okay. Okay, yeah, that's good to think about. I mean, whenever I'm doing firings, the vent, the pipe isn't actually all that hot, so I'm not so worried about that. But the insulation, just to be able to keep it in the window, would be nice, not to have to take it back in and out.
And you could use a rigid insulation between two panels and, glue something together that could fit into that space that would take the place. It could be the thickness of the sash
Mm-hmm.
or close to it so that it fit into between the jambs and the window frame.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea.
And from the outside, I would suggest to make it less visible, make the panel as dark a color as you can.
Okay, so paint it like a black or something like that, or dark gray or something.
Something that, it's compatible with the siding on the building, maybe.
Well, if you look on the
Okay.
building's really, really light.
Okay.
It'll be one of
Well,
those
then
two side by
make it a-
sides on the bottom.
Yep.
Even though the building is light, if you look at the windows, the appearance of the windows is dark from the outside.
Like the glass in the
Like the
window.
glass in the window. If you look at the back of the building, like on the lower right, and I'm not sure which window it's coming out of, but on the lower right, the appearance of the glass is black from the outside.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think black is good. Too.
Okay.
I was curious, is this the only window in that room? Or, because you might want to open a window in the summer if there is another one.
Yeah, and that's gonna be what the thing I'm thinking is that I'll probably have a fan in that window to the right or to the left, and then that'll be pulling in air because it's gonna heat up the room, a bit. So yeah, I'm definitely thinking of a window fan, kind of, the ones that like exchange the air, one blows in, one blows out, kind of thing.
Right, right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other comments, questions, or suggestions? Otherwise, I can read down through the criteria. It's a lot of criteria for a
Feel free to skip
small-
over,
small
free to
panel.
skip
That's
over
really-
some of them. It was just,
No,
I
that's
usually
okay.
err on caution of not
Yes.
saying, don't look at criteria.
No.
'Cause
So
that's
for
your
all,
guys' job.
for all projects, number one, exterior design and materials of new construction or alterations of existing buildings shall be consistent and compatible with the characteristics of the existing building or other properties in the district. There's no removal of historic materials, character defining features, finishes, and construction techniques that characterize an historic building shall be preserved. There's no deteriorated character defining features. And there's no treatments that cause damage to historic materials, so that's acceptable. Existing buildings shall be recognized as a physical record of their time, place, and use. Any new development shall be differentiated from the old, but does respect and is compatible with the massing, size, scale, architectural features, detailing, and overall character of the primary historic building acceptable. No landscaping, location and appearance of all utilities, mechanical equipment, trash storage, and fencing should be cited to minimize adverse visual impact. That's acceptable. Rhythm, visual patterns established by the alterations of solid walls and openings, windows and doors in the facade of a building shall create a rhythm. This is acceptable in an existing window. Architectural features, including but not limited to cornices, windows, shutters, fan lights, entablature, trim, and other forms of molding or character defining detailing prevailing on the existing building shall be considered in any alteration. Architectural features on an addition, there's no addition here. This is acceptable. And lastly, windows and doors on historic structures, character defining windows and door patterns, placement, sizes, proportions, and original features such as trim, sash, and moldings shall be preserved to the extent possible. When preservation is not possible, such character defining windows and doors must be rehabilitated or replaced. There's no change here. It's just an open window with a panel in it. Acceptable. And the only recommendation that a couple of people have made is that the window panel or the kiln vent should be a dark color to make the panel less visible from the outside.
You can get the vent covers in black too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All in favor of the applications, speak your names.
Because my vote is not required, I'm going to recuse myself as Alexi is a friend of mine.
Ah,
Oh, okay. Steve approves.
Liz approves.
Rebecca approves.
Vote is 3-0 in favor.
first step cleared. So what I'm gonna do, Alexi, is I'm gonna take a scan of this recommendation form, send it to you to just sign off on that that little tweak, that recommendation. And then it'll go in the packet that goes to the Development Review Board for the hearing on the conditional use change in 2 weeks.
All right, sounds good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you
Appreciate
for coming and good luck with your kiln project.
it. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
You'll hear from me soon, Alexi.
Perfect. Thanks.
The rest of the
Thank you.
Do you have the rest of the recommendation form? You just handed me. There should be another page. You handed me page 3 and 4. There we go.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Nope, that's
I
okay.
get it.
I do it now before I forget.
Thank you. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from September 16th and October 7th? Any comments, questions, or suggestions?
Got head shakes remotely.
I can't comment on September 16th.
You
but-
can comment on like copy edit
Right.
stuff. We've got two. We've
Yep.
got two who can review the content.
We can actually do them separately.
Yeah.
So September, we have not enough.
I mean,
Liz.
technically, not
Okay.
everybody has to have been there, but if you guys aren't comfortable with only 2 of you being able to review the content, that's fine.
No. If we
I can
don't
wait.
have to, we can approve it.
Up to you.
I'm happy to approve them, just being clear that I
Yeah.
wasn't there to.
Yep.
Okay. Do I hear a second? Liz?
Liz, yes.
Okay, all in favor, speak your names.
Ben,
Rebecca,
Steve, Liz,
Liz.
September's approved. How about October the 7th? We've got Steve, Ben, and Rebecca.
mhm.
Motion to approve.
so moved.
Second,
Rebecca seconds.
all in favor, speak your names.
Rebecca,
Stephen, approved. Does anyone else have anything to add at this point?
Don't we have some other business, Mary?
They haven't shown up. So, I am gonna show you, I guess, a project. I'm gonna pull. If you guys could each just take one of each of those, and then Ben can have one of each. Let me pull this up. So this is the city center. They're trying to replace the flashing. Because they've got issues with water getting in underneath, and they've got to fix the roof. And so hold on one second. Right now it's actually copper flashing up there. And what they would like to do, I guess I'm gonna share, no, I don't want to share my whole screen. So this is what's up there right now. And because of costs, they would like to replace it with, I don't know if this will show. Nope. Nope, it didn't change. Hold on. Gotta share the other one.
Copper's obviously not leaking. Why is the
No,
rubber and
I-
copper junction?
They want to
problem?
replace it with something that's copper, similarly colored to what's up there right now,
Okay,
but that is not a copper material.
okay.
It's, it's a change in materials, so I have to send it to you guys. It's not a building that's on the historic register right now.
Some
So
anodized metal that you use for standing seam material.
I think so.
And the color, it's not a paint again, it's a
Uh,
part of
they
the
said
metal.
galvanized metal flashing instead of copper. Use dark bronze as a color selection.
Yeah.
Is what they're going to submit for the application. And so basically we had this conversation late Thursday when I'd already posted agendas and done everything. And just with our standard deadlines. So they'll come before you guys officially in 2 weeks. But I suggested that somebody be here tonight to run it by you, just to get sort of a straw poll sense of whether or not it
Okay.
would be acceptable, so they could at least go forward with some of the other ordering of materials or not, depending on what you thought, and get a sense of what you thought.
It's too
Done this
bad
with a
they
few other
couldn't
people.
Do a little interesting cornice work.
Without do anything to make that building
That was-
reasonable.
That was on the
know.
alternative design that was in Jay Ansell's back pocket.
Yeah, I know. It'd
Years
make it
ago.
more interesting for
Were you on
sure.
board when that building got built?
No,
I think Eric might have been part of that somewhere along the way, or he just knew about it.
I'm surprised nobody asked about the alternative design.
It's popped up before.
But no, I mean, it's gonna look the same as it
Yeah.
does now. It's just a
Yeah.
different material,
Yeah.
but that's,
It's just one of those things
Okay.
I couldn't approve it because it's a change in materials.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I can let them know that it
Yep.
looks,
I have no issues with it.
yeah.
And if they wanna do anything to,
Make the building more interesting.
improve and make the building more interesting looking, they can do that as well.
Well, I'm
There are
good.
there are other materials, they have, there's actually a couple of places up in Burlington where they can take metal and they can form it in different configurations and
Make it look
sizes
interesting.
and make something that looks really interesting other than just a 8-inch flat.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna be,
What
for
about-
that building, my job is gonna be tackling all the stuff that the United States Postal Service did without getting permits for any of it, including like all sorts of stuff. I'd be like, well, that's great, except that, Nettie is actually on the hook because all those permit requirements are for him. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how much we're gonna deal with that. But yeah, no, it would be nice if they did something artistic.
Even if they could
Interesting.
replicate an original style.
They could do
Yeah.
anything.
Well, I will talk to them. I will let them know that even though they weren't able to attend.
Hmm.
That
We're
your
rooting for them
feedback-
to do something great. Because that building needs help.
Yeah, yeah.
At the moment that they're willing to do something that makes it more.
You know, when you're driving to Burlington, before you get to Williston, if you're driving along and you look on the right-hand side, there are 3 brick buildings, office buildings, right after the Whale's Tails. There are 3 brick office buildings that have different treatments on the cornices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One's just very plain. One has brick that's offset to give some shadowing, and then one has some rough granite. As you pass by, look at all 3 of them, and it's really easy to pick what your preference might be.
All right, I will.
We'll have to take a look.
That's a standing built comparison.
Yep.
It's
Easy to
kind
do.
of cool. I don't think because most of the time I'm the driver, so.
Notice that when each one was being built, and the one with the granite cornice work stands out. It's amazing the difference. And again, there are 3 different treatments, and it's like a lab.
Cool.
Awesome.
Does anybody have anything else, or do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it, Liz.
All in favor of adjournment, speak your names.
Rebecca,
Ben?
Liz.
And Steve, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Next meeting is November 4th. Have a great evening.